Hello everyone, welcome back. This is I Say Cosm. Today we're continuing with Stygian, Reign of the Old Ones. And we have a bright light to investigate. Hmm. The heavily scarred man who was conducting the ritual abruptly turns to you like a scared predator caught in a trap. Soon after, you come to realize this man must have been condemned to some kind of torture that ultimately crippled both his flesh and soul. After making a heathen hand gesture, the man speaks with a voice that can only be described as a disturbingly loud whisper.
They sent you to bring me back, cult dog. They think Krog is still the easy meat he used to be. One step closer, and Basil Dark Anu shreds you into 1,000 pieces.
You can feel a ruinous power emanating from this broken man. You dare to summon a demon? Have you never been warned about the hazards? Occult.
All that man ever did was to cripple me, take away my potential, and reduce me to this.
Looks at his abused and naked body, scarred everywhere with esoteric symbols.
This husk. You think my infernal guest can do worse? Never mind, my guest. You know I'll do after I'm done with you. I'll send your charred corpse as a parting gift to your masters, so they can learn to leave Krog alone.
The tortured man starts to make convulsed movements while whispering in an alien tongue. The rising tension in the air is undeniable. Stop. I serve no master. After a brief look of surprise, his pained eyes scan you cautiously.
Make yourself known, or I'll let the black worms devour your eyes.
Hey, I'm Cosm. No eating my eyes, alright? The man calling himself Krog tips his head to one side as if listening to an invisible advisor.
My guest does not see the mantle of lies on you. This means you may live for a few more minutes.
I'm eternally grateful.
You think I would let the risk of letting you...
All of a sudden, the man falls into violent spasm, seemingly the result of extreme pain. Are you alright? Ignoring you, Krog concentrates on breathing deeply for a while, before he could whisper again.
I cannot let you go. No one seeing me on this side of the river may live.
Krog winces again as if the pain has just returned to show him it is not going anywhere soon. Look, you're in serious pain. I can bring you all kinds of sedatives. It takes a moment to weigh your offer.
It is true that I need some supplies, and I wouldn't say no to a pipe full of opium. A cigarette wouldn't hurt either. You got one?
Sure, here you go. He grabs the cig from you, lights it with a flickering flame of a ritual candle, and inhales deeply.
The only thing I miss about fucking America. Since I prefer not to leave the protection of my domain, a supplier could come in handy.
He turns to a vacant corner of the room.
What do you think, Basil?
The tortured man gets lost in a feverish discussion, only occasionally interrupted by a nod coming from his side. At last, he turns to you again.
There may be a way.
I'm listening.
Basil Tharg Anu knows an old curse. It is called Verba Derelicta. It was once used on spies and assassins as a precaution in case they get caught. The one who carries the Verba Derelicta cannot even mention the name of the caster, and if the cursed is pushed to their limits, as in an interrogation, they simply
Clears his throat.
die.
How reassuring.
It was you who trespassed in our domain, and as your hosts, me and Basil Tharg Anu have the final say. Cursed or dead.
Come on. We can find another solution. While you're trying to talk some sense into the scarred man, he's already whispering a Magus Latin. Upon the touch of an ice-cold drop right in the middle of your forehead, you realize the curse has been inflicted.
And have I told you the spell is also quite quick to cast?
You see Krug smiling for the first time.
But don't put on the slack cloth and ashes, my friend. We can be real allies now. And in time, you may discover that a warlock and a daemon can come very handy in a town that's already gone to hell.
We'll see. I am curious about some things, however. Krug seems to be in agony, and you're unsure if it's because of his reluctance to endure your questions, or a byproduct of his condition. Hey! Do you have any idea of what this statuette represents? Krug examines the ages-old figurine.
Of course, that is a representation of Cthulhu, or the grandfather as the cult calls him. The sheiks of the cult have been telling us they could feel its presence nearby. I have even heard that a band of cultists actually saw His Majesty in full glory, rising on the horizon. I've also heard when they were found, almost all of them were dead, with smiles of awe permanently fixed to their faces. And they tell that the surviving acolyte was saying just one thing. Oh, beautiful doom.
Who is this infernal guest?
His name is Basil Tharg Anu, and I advise you to address him by his true name. He is a guest in my domain, but also my only ally in this game of cat and mouse.
Think a daemon could be an ally? Tilts his head to one side again to listen to the strange entity he saw inhabiting the room.
But Basil, you also agreed to keep him functional.
If I were a demon, I wouldn't want anyone to warn you.
Like you know anything about the denizens of the abyss.
He coldly gives you the eye.
Now leave before Basil Tharg Anu interferes.
Aw, I wanted to barter. Oh well. Here we go. All right. Well. I suspect this Cthulhu is the governing deity of the cult's pantheon. But I still don't know what I'm supposed to do with the figurine. Alright. Let's have a look. It's got some guards. You see a middle-aged man. Oh, educated looking man, with a hint of danger in his smile. This must be the owner of the pharmacy, Richter. Do you know where I can find... Oh, I'm here for some formaldehyde. What are you planning to preserve? A lifeless fetus, perhaps? Forget it. Who am I to question others' questionable pursuits? The truth is, I don't have any formaldehyde. It's a bit out of my field. Do you know where I can get some? Let's see. The main component of formaldehyde turns out to be methyl alcohol. There should be a pretty high methyl alcohol output at the distillery because of that charlatan Wheat's crude distilling methods. So if you can get me the methyl alcohol from the mob's distillery, I guess I can make you some formaldehyde. For a price, of course. And at least I can preserve my dead fetuses in the back decently. Just joking. Or am I? Where is the distillery? It's to the east of Riverside. Here, let me show you on your map. Who is this wait you mentioned? A drunk fraud who pretends to be the distiller of the mob. I've heard that his own whiskey brand was third class at best even before the Black Day. You can guess how primitive and graceless his products are now are. Alright, I'll be back with that. You know where I can find a radio transmitter? A transmitter? It won't be easy to find such a delicate machine part in Arkham. He continues after a short pause. I would try French Hill Streets though. I've heard a man called Dumitresque resides there. I know that surname. If he is the person I think he is, that man may be your best bet. Thanks. Interesting. I'm surprised he didn't ask me for anything. The door is tightly locked, but there is a dusty button alongside, adjacent to a rectangular panel similar to a speaker. A voice sizzles. What do you want? I'm looking for a radio transmitter and a conductor. I've been told you might be able to help. After a few seconds, the buzzing foretells the door being automatically unlocked. It is surprising to see working technology in this ruined town. Interesting. Whoa, guy. See a middle-aged man with a strong aura of intelligence and discipline sitting next to some sophisticated radio machinery. He looks devoured by the effort he puts into these contraptions. May I ask who you are? I'm Cosm. Alright, Cosm. The only reason I'm allowing you to interrupt my work is that you've excited my attention with your rather interesting request. Would you care to elaborate? I'm searching for a way out of this place and those parts could help. Is that so? Are you a man of science, Cosm? Yes. Then you know as well as I that a radio transmitter cannot miraculously teleport you to another point in space. Its sole function is transmit radio waves, not atoms. But we may not dwell in Minkowski space anymore. This could be entirely different space-time continuum. You can see that you've made an impression. Interesting point, sir. I would like to discuss this further, but I'm currently testing my own, much more concrete theory. Something that does not belong in the category of, with all due respect, scientific philosophizing. I'm sorry, sir, but it would take too much of my precious time to explain to a novice. Just know that my work may prove crucial to all of us. Very well, sir. Your direct approach also suits the constrained time frame of my work. I may have a spare conductor on hand, but the radio transmitter is another story. A story that I may also have a role in. Would you care to elaborate? He smiles thinly. I placed an order for some radio equipment and other electrical parts not long before the event I now describe as a planar shift. After the disaster, I was as frightened and depressed as any other resident of this lonely town. But eventually, my desire to continue my work helped me recover. Perhaps sensing it was my last resort, I returned to the lab. After some initial measurements and tests, I knew I was onto something. I knew that I was on the cusp of a discovery that could help us all. But just like you, I found myself in need of radio parts. What happened next almost cost me my life. Let me guess, a disagreement with the mob? No, not at all. I headed for the Marsh warehouse. I knew that my shipment had to be in there someplace. It was the early days of Wax Face's rise, and the chaos in the streets gave me the cover I needed to enter undetected. There were things inside. Fear spreads on his face. Creatures straight out of the folk tales of my childhood. Archaic beast people. After I had nearly lost an arm to one of the monsters, I decided to leave the shipment where it was. I cannot complete this important work without myself, after all. You see what I mean? Then the transmitter is still there. I heard that the warehouse was sealed, so in theory, yes. If you can somehow survive the Varkolic, you'll find my shipment. He hands you the bill of delivery. This will help you locate the crate. You are free to help yourself to the transmitter. Hey! But please bring me the remaining components. They are crucial to my efforts here. Where is Marsh Warehouse? It's in the Riverside District, an old brick building. You won't miss it, I'm sure. I'll find that crate. Oh. We go occult. And science this time. Cult research. Good. Oh. That makes it... Oh, I think I'll go with that. That seems pretty cool. You too! Science and firearms. You're gonna be my sharpshooter. With which has accumulated throughout the story by receiving negative effects and being subject to horrifying situations. Don't want to mess with no kids. Let's see. The distillery. Oh, what's this guy doing? His swollen eyes and unending stream of tears sliding down his face serve as conspicuous evidence of this burly man's ongoing despair. The carcass has begun to stink horribly, yet he stays put, enshrouded in his sorrow. Oh God, you've taken everyone from me. Everyone, and now my poor Lucy. Oh, dreadful. You have my sympathy, Mr. William is the name, but please forget about this incompetent, pathetic excuse for a man. Looks at the torn carcass on the ground. Lucy was more than a steed to me. She was a dear companion, and now she's gone. Yet no one hears my cries in this God-forsaken place. And to think I was a policeman. Pauses briefly and hangs his head in shame. Couldn't even protect his own partner. He was irreplaceable, huh? People, they only hang you out to dry, throw you to the lion, sell you out. His voice gets raspy with frustration. People deceive. Lucy, she never disappointed me. She was my one true friend. Yep. His self-pity morphs instantly into a fiery vengefulness. But they're dead wrong if they think I'll let them get away with this. I'll slaughter those beasts as I slaughtered my Lucy. He returns to his hopeless abandon just as quickly as he staved it off. I failed to protect her. How could I be so negligent? So selfish. Negligent? What should I infer from that? Yesterday I left Lucy alone and went to the bar just to forget myself for a little while. When I returned, she was decimated, eaten alive no less. Oh, my poor Lucy. Falls into tears. You must have succumbed to a big distraction then. Something that happens rarely, if at all. Gawkishly flounders to answer your question. Well, it just happened on the spur of the moment. Not some big razzle-dazzle, only a drink or two, sir. Did you catch sight of the attackers? I wish I hadn't. He seems to be reenacting the gruesome incident in his mind. I started running when I heard Lucy neigh in agony from afar. Poor thing. On the way, I fired all my remaining ammo into the air. It was dark, so I couldn't see much. But they had the silhouettes of wretched, dare I say, dogs, and they grunted like hounds from hell. But one among their malicious pack was waiting in the shadows. A huge, hairless horror whom I believed to be the leader. That abominable monster waited on his subordinates to bring him the flesh of my innocent Lucy. In a sudden burst of fury, I'll rip its heart out. I'll venture into that warehouse and compel that grotesqueness to pay with its life for the pain it caused me. Warehouse, huh? That's where I'm going as well. His eyes darken murderously. You will? Then you must help me avenge her. Only once their blood has been spilled shall my wounded heart rest. This much I owe to Lucy. We can slay those beasts together. Alright, wouldn't hurt to have a bull on my side. Thank you, sir. You look like a fine gentleman. I'll do my best not to disappoint you. Lead on. Oh, I lost my guy. The outsider looks at the lifeless body of the animal named Lucy, then diverts his gaze to the weeping man. I can see that his love for the beast is turning him into a lifeless revenant, blinded by pure anger. To be able to feel such a deep affection for a creature not shaped in the same form as himself. He was not simply the master of this beast, but a burden. He was much more. I find it admirable. This type of a bond is sometimes stronger than any other. You have something to say too, huh? I've made some observations on the crime scene and I'd like to share my deductions with you if you care to listen. Of course, Sonia, what have you deduced? I've examined the carcass of this unfortunate animal and I can assure you that these wounds weren't inflicted by man-made weapons. These are wide, deep, and uneven lacerations. The insides are torn away as well, probably by the aid of large canine teeth. By some ruthless monstrosity it must have been devoured. I'm impressed. I've also further deduced that the aggressors were a pack, and not a single one, as suggested by the footprint trail. Shows the claw prints on the ground. Thank you, Sonia. Sure have a keen eye for the inconspicuous. My pleasure. I'm glad you noticed. Well, I think that is ominous. That is going to do it for this video. We'll enter the warehouse in the next one. This has been I Say Cousin. Stay tuned for more Cosmic Horror video games. Thanks for watching.